And it just pays off. So the next point here is that programs that are successful not only use high-impact strategies, they combine them. So it's great to use, a really good strategy like modeling, but if you also combine that networking and multiple ways of communicating and coaching, it has a greater impact. So I'm going to pause and tell you about a really important study a colleague of mine at Vanderbilt has done on parent motivation. So there are three key facts. We're Americans, we like the simple stuff, Just what's the thing we need to do? Give us that quick fix. And it's never that simple. It takes often 2 or 3 things in interaction to produce real results. And so Kathy looked at all sorts of studies on parent motivation and the different ways that families are engaged. And they looked at what the researchers call role construction. Don't you love the terms they come up with? But if you think about this one, you know how Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players? I think that's from The Tempest. And so every day we go out and we play our parts in life, don't we? We might be, the tender, concerned parent, and then the tough, no-nonsense business person or manager, or we might be, just all these different things that we do. And we've learned how to play those roles, but for many of our families, being an active, engaged parent in their children's learning is a new role for them. And so I said to Kathy Hoover Dempsey, who did this study, I said, that's kind of like building their job description, right? And she said, exactly. So how do parents do this? How do we ever develop our roles? We watch other people, don't we? So for our families who grew up in a setting where their parents were very unsure of themselves and deferential to the school and didn't try to do a lot of home educating because they weren't sure what to do, they may just unconsciously be that way with their own children. But it's very, maybe easy isn't the word, but it's not hard to give parents a different job description and help them understand it, particularly if there are people like parent educators who are stepping up and are more actively engaged. And so we need to be looking at what are our programs and outreach to families doing to help them construct a job description that's more proactive and that's more actively engaged in what their children are learning. But there's a second factor, which the researchers call efficacy. And efficacy is one of those researchy words that means the power to have an effect. It has to do with confidence. So parents who have a sense of efficacy think, if I do this, I can make a difference. Like the Latino families say, si se puede. Yes, I can do this. Because aren't we all, we're all human beings, we're all the same in this way. We're much more likely to do something that we feel like we could pull off if we tried it, right? Oh, I know how to do that, I'll do that. As opposed to, I don't know, I think I'll just do this other thing instead. So that's why it's so important to do that training, to bring parents into the classroom, to coach them, to build their confidence and their skills, that they really can be a powerful teacher of their children and a leader for learning at home. And then the last thing Kathy identified was invitation, that sense of invitation. If you come, you'll be welcome. We really want you to be here, and so do your kids. That's not so hard with preschool kids. They get excited when their parents come. It gets a little tougher in middle and high school, but it still applies. And I asked Kathy, I said, okay, so you've been researching these 3 different things. They interact with each other. This makes so much sense. It sheds a lot of light. It has a lot of explanatory power. But is one of these like more important than another? And she said, oh, absolutely. There's one that's much stronger than the other 2. Can you guess what it is? You guys are good. That's right, it's invitation. If a parent thinks that if they walk through that door, they're going to be looked down on or dissed or have their backs turned on them or asked why the heck they're there or what they're doing and who do they think they are, they're going to stay away. So we may have to do quite a lot to make sure they really feel, just like that parent I was telling you about who never came to school until Tyrone's teacher called her. Then she knew. She knew she was really welcome. A flyer isn't do it. A robocall, it's probably not going to do it. A neighbor knocking on the door and saying, hey, I just want you to know about this, maybe not. A home visit? Yeah. A home visit, welcome, a community walk where we stop and shake hands with people in a neighborhood and really welcome them. That resets the relationship. That really sends a strong signal. So let's take a look at this. I know this is 3rd grade, oops, but it applies, the findings apply really at all levels. This was just a study that was done on 3rd grades, Title I students. And their reading and math scores improved at a 40 to 50% faster rate when teachers did 3 things to reach out to parents. Improving at a faster rate. Remember those NAEP scores we were looking at a little while ago? Where, you know, the kids are maybe 1/3 of our kids are proficient in reading and math. We need to improve at a faster rate, right? So if teachers reach out and meet with families face-to-face, that builds the relationship. If parents aren't coming to the back-to-school nights or the class meetings for whatever reason, we can't just say, oh, well, they had their chance. I guess we'll just never see them. No, we have to go out there and find them. We can be out in front when they're dropping their kids off. We can walk their neighborhoods. We can make a home visit. We can follow their kids home and say hello. Whatever it takes, meeting with families face-to-face, because that builds the relationship. That creates trust. That signals to a parent, wow, this teacher is really willing to go out of his or her way to connect to me. I guess they really care about my kid. Then sending stuff home that they can use to help their children learn. And staying in regular touch about how their kids are doing. Because most parents just learn when there's some kind of a progress report. And maybe their kids, they find out their kids are failing, or they're not learning anything, or they're acting out, and they're really a problem in class, and the parents are like, I didn't know. I mean, just think, what's the reaction likely to be in the typical home when the phone rings and it's the teacher on the other end of the line? Uh-oh, right? So staying in that regular touch and being sure to call when there's good news. Lead with something positive. Parents want to believe in their kids. They want to think that their kids are great. And they want the people who work with their kids to feel that way too. And yes, there might be some problems, this or that, but the main thing is that this kid is a wonderful human being that deserves a lot of care and attention and, you know, good instruction. So if we combine, that's combining high impact strategies. See that? The face-to-face meeting, the building relationships, the sending stuff home, and better yet, having a workshop on how to use those materials where the things are modeled and the parents are coached in how to use them well, and then that follow-up, that staying in touch. So here's another program that we're using in Washington, D.C. to great effect, combining home visits, which are a very powerful relationship building. It's like a technology. I mean, they really are amazingly effective if they're the right kind of home visit. Not the kind of home visit where you're going in with a clipboard and saying, okay, let's see what's going on here in this home. Not a home inspection. And not a home visit that's all about a problem or what I would call an information dump. Here is a whole packet of information about our preschool program. Enjoy, and then leaving. It's a relationship building home visit. This program started with community organizers in Sacramento who went out into the neighborhoods and had community conversations with parents who lived there, asking them what would make this a better place to raise a family. What would make this a really great community to live in? And over again it came up that the schools were a big problem. And the parents said, the school won't even let us in. They think we're prostitutes and drug dealers, and we're not. We want them to come out and meet us. So they went to the superintendent, the community organizers, and said, you know, we're finding some really interesting things about the community and how they feel about the schools, and we think maybe the district should consider doing home visits. And the superintendent said, the union will never go for it. And besides, you know, how would we pay for it? How would we do it? So the community organizing group went to the teachers union and said, what do you think? And they said, we'd love to. We would love to learn how to do this, but we'd have to be paid. Of course they'd have to be paid. They're professionals, it's their time, but it comes out of their Title I money. So they began doing home visits, and they challenged the superintendent. They said, we want you to take the training and make some home visits yourself. He said, all right, I'll do it. I'll make 2 home visits. Well, 2 weeks later, they circled back to the superintendent. He said, I've made 20 home visits. It's the most powerful thing I've ever done, and I'll never see those families the same way again. And it's really had a huge impact on the school district there. So Washington, D.C. decided to do the home visits as well, but they're combining it with sharing data with families. And that has really had a huge effect. So once they warm people up and get them comfortable and confident, then parents are going to be more likely to come to a meeting that has data in it, right? And then they focus on the students' skills that are weak and develop a plan. They co-develop it. It's not the teachers stand up and say, okay, you've got to do these 3 things, but they share ideas and come up with a plan together. And in the schools that have done this, the students' skills have doubled in a year. This is another kindergarten transition program in Hartford that I was part of at a huge school with a whole lot of refugee children who were, you know, really not ready for, didn't have kindergarten readiness skills at all. And so they decided they'd better talk to the families about the need for this and invited the parents to come and learn about kindergarten. And when they did, the parents were like, kindergarten, we never had this where we came from. What is it? Do kids play all day? Or, you know, and then the teachers explained about the importance of kindergarten readiness, and the parents were like, whoa, we had no idea. We thought we weren't supposed to do that much with them, that was your job. But now we know we're supposed to do stuff, but can we come and watch and see what you do? So the teachers designed a whole orientation program based on what the parents said. And 96% of the parents who were going to be, whose kids were going to be coming into kindergarten, came for all 3 days, and they just grabbed those materials, they practiced it, they went home, and that next crop of kindergartners was so much more ready. So that's now a permanent program at the school. So if we boil this down to what are the keys, building relationships is the soil in which everything else takes root. Just forming those personal connections as fellow human beings. And then looking at everything you're doing to engage families and making sure it's linked to what the kids are learning and doing right now in their program. What are the developmental skills that are being worked on? What's happening in the preschool program? What should parents be doing at home? And doing that in a way that addresses the cultural, economic, ethnic, and educational differences that exist among your families. We can't ignore those. We need to tailor. If families don't speak English, we've got to offer them stuff in their home language. If parents come from a background with less education, we have to help fill that in a way that's respectful and culturally competent, and that makes them feel welcome and valued. And we have to equalize the power, because teachers are college-educated, middle-class professionals, and to our lower-income families, that can feel very intimidating. They're going to look down on me. They're going to think I'm nobody. They think I don't have anything to offer. By giving them a voice, asking them about their kids, they're experts on their children. They can tell us a lot about their child's interests, what they like, what they're struggling with, and it puts everybody sort of on the level playing field and gets rid of the stereotypes and that feeling of unequal power balance. So a little chart to sum it up. The high impact strategies, these are what we've been talking about, and then the low impact. Parents, read to your kids 30 minutes a day. Here's a flyer. They should, and if they know how, they will, but we need to be doing the things under the high impact column. And the parenting classes, that can be touchy. I think if we offer programs about effective parenting, we need to call it something else. In other words, if parents ask, what do we do about, how do we discipline a 3-year-old? My grandson's 3, and man, he is full of it. The terrible threes is what they should call it. And so parents might ask for help with that, and then we can offer a workshop about it. But rather than just saying, these parents need parenting classes to be better parents, may keep people away. And just finally, reframing the work. So moving away from the idea that it's the parents' sole responsibility, they're the ones that should be doing this, to understanding it's a shared responsibility. And instead of thinking about what's wrong with the families and what they're not doing well, we need to look at what their strengths are and be collaborative. A lot of programs do what I would call random acts of parent involvement. Well, let's have a family fun night, or let's do this, or let's ask some parents to come along on the field trip to the nature center. It needs to be a systemic program that's carefully designed and linked to the instructional program and to your improvement goals. And moving away from one-time things to having a continuous improvement. How can we engage our families in all of the different things that we're trying to do? So I'm going to close with an announcement that we're forming a new national association for family, school, and community engagement, NAFSCE. And it's going to be, its mission is to advance high-impact policies and practices of engagement that will promote child development and improve student achievement. It's going to be extremely focused on the things that work the most and have the longest term most sustained impact on our children's outcomes. So it's going to be a space for people like you in every arena of family engagement to come together and share ideas and improve our practice and promote the vital importance of what we do. So if you're interested in this, please go on, give us your name. We're expecting to launch in September, and if you give us that contact information, we will keep you posted. Anyone who, I should have made this announcement at the beginning, but this PowerPoint is going to be available on the ADF website, and I believe that information is in your materials, the address. And so you can download it, you can use it, feel free, share the ideas and the information. And now I want to throw it open for questions and comments. Thank you so much for your close and careful attention. Really appreciated it. My message here tonight is that family engagement has powerful impacts on student achievement that we cannot afford to ignore.
What have you found in your research that would be applicable to East Baton Rouge Parish?
The fact that if families and schools work closely together in a trusting, collaborative way, students will do better over the long haul in school, and you will really make some inroads on the achievement gap.
What does it take to accomplish that?
It takes capacity building on both sides. Most teachers say they have no preparation for working with families. It's not something that they've learned how to do. And most families say they want help and information to be involved in a more powerful way and to connect with schools so that their involvement is effective and really pays off for their kids.
The focus on early childhood education, on what it takes for our youngest citizens to succeed in school for a lifetime is very important. Spotlighting a speaker like Ann that we have here today on the real science and research that drives decision making and helps those who lead us either in legislation or in rulemaking or in teaching methods make better decisions about how to prepare our youth is vital information. We're just glad that ADF is able to bring this information to Baton Rouge for its citizens and for the parents and school administrators as well as teaching professionals.
Are you encouraged by what you've heard here tonight?
Yes, I am. I think it's fantastic material, and I can think of nothing more important than really taking this information and putting it to use, because that's a real proof of the investment, is that it actually makes an effect in the classroom for the future generations.
Dr. Henderson's comments today just continue to reinforce why we continue to support early childhood education and feel it's so supportive, so important that we get this right at a very early age.
Are you encouraged by what you've heard here tonight?
Absolutely, we are, and it just continues to reinforce that we're making progress, and we just have to keep doing more of what we're doing.
Early childhood education, first and foremost, is something we're definitely promoting, and we'd love to see it go universal. But then we have the parental involvement and community engagement aspect of it, and this is where the rubber meets the road. I think it's quite beneficial that we have Ann Henderson in town, a nationally renowned expert in parental involvement. I follow her through her book, Big Time, Beyond the Bake Sale, and we had an opportunity to do a roundtable discussion earlier today, focusing on the challenges that we're facing here in East Baton Rouge Parish School System. And as we're moving forward with our new strategic plan, component 6, or objective 6 of the strategic plan, is regarding parental involvement and community engagement. And through this roundtable discussion, we received some good insight as we move forward to try to meet the indicators that are outlined in that objective.
We are the Academic Distinction Fund, and we collaborate with the business section, the business sector, the public school system, and our communities in order to provide high-quality resources and materials and programs and services for the children in East Baton Rouge Parish School System. And our focus is pre-kindergarten at this time.
Very encouraged. Ms. Henderson was able to put this information in a format that was very easy to understand, put it in layman's terms, and I think we'll have a good start now as we move forward trying to build parental involvement capacity in the East Baton Rouge Parish School System.
This is something that if they do it well, it will lead to improved school climate, better job satisfaction, greater parent involvement, more community support for the schools, and better schools that serve your community.
Number one, an effective collaboration among schools, the community, and the teachers is very important for students to improve their learning. And it happens in the best situation when schools are established as transformative systems, as opposed to those barriers that are put up to keep parents out of the school. I want everybody to know, and Ann Henderson will help them learn how to do this. Our schools are for our parents, they're for our communities, and they're for our kids. And so we want the schools to keep an open systems approach to those buildings so that parents feel comfortable coming in the schools and becoming a vital part of their children's teaching and learning.
If people have questions like more information about ADF, what should they do?
Well, it's so important because we have a number of avenues to stay in touch with ADF, certainly through our website, www.adfbr.org. That is www.adfbr.org, and also through the regular telephone system, 225-293-3345, 225-293-3345. Also, we're available through Facebook and Twitter, and we're always blogging.